Hey, welcome to another long video. The last one I made was about grippers and everything you need to know about them. If you haven't seen that, please go watch it. I got a lot of great feedback on that one, which led to me doing this video today, where we're going to talk about everything you need to know regarding grip sport and arm lifting and competitions. So I even have an outline for this one because there's so much info to go over. As you can see behind me, I have all of my gear laid out. I'm going to show it all to you, how to use it at a high level. If you want crazy level of detail on how to train, you can hire me for coaching. But today you'll get a great idea of what you need to get started and how to start progressing and building that well-rounded grip that's required to be successful in grip sport and arm lifting competitions. All right, so the scope of this video will be to talk about competition, also explain the differences between the two organizations that I compete in. I know there's many organizations all over the world, but Armlifting USA and Gripsport International are the only two that I have any direct experience with. So I'm not meaning to leave anyone out, but I only have time to talk about these two in this video. If you have details about other groups that might do something differently or have some unique aspect to them, please post information about it in the comments. I think it'd be great to have all that information in one spot with this video. And I'm always curious and eager to learn what other people are doing around the world. So please share information that I might not have covered or something interesting that we might need to know about how things are done in other parts of the world. Okay, so Armlifting USA, Gripsport International, what's the difference? So they're very similar in the sense that many of the same implements are used between the two organizations, but Armlifting USA, they emphasize control of the weight and lockout, more like powerlifting. Gripsport International is more about the raw power of the grip. So what will happen is at Armlifting USA competitions, you're required to lock the weight out on every event, meaning your knees are locked, your hips are locked, your back is straight, your head is up, you're looking straight ahead, and you're waiting for a down signal from a judge. Gripsport International uses a set of uprights that has a crossbar that's set to 6 inches. There's a couple of exceptions. There's some lifts that are higher, some that are lower, but most of them are 6 inches. And so you'll lift the weight and you'll hit the crossbar at 6 inches, and you just have to set it down under control. If you can do that, it's a successful lift. You don't have to wait for a down signal. Touch the crossbar, set the weight back down. It's a good lift. Gripsport International does have a couple of lifts that require lockout, like the Saxon bar or the axle bar. Those are lockout, but for the most part, everything else is to the crossbar. And I'll show you all of that later in the video. Also, Gripsport International and Armlifting USA have different weight classes. I'll post those on the screen here because I don't have them memorized off the top of my head. But to give you some insight into the differences, I weigh 260 to 265 pounds, like comfortably. That's just my walking around weight. I think I weighed like 261 this morning. When I'm getting ready for an Armlifting USA competition, I compete in the 125 kilogram weight class, which is 275 pounds. Is the limit. If I go over that, then I have to compete in the 125 plus, and there's no upper limit in that weight class. That's like the super heavyweight realm. So I try to get close to that 275 weight limit when I'm preparing for an Armlifting USA competition. Just because when I'm heavier, I can lift a little more, and I like to eat, so I enjoy gaining weight. But when I'm done with the Armlifting USA competitions and I'm getting ready to prepare for a Gripsport International, I have to lose 10 pounds because the weight limit for Gripsport International is 120 kilograms for me to be in the same pool of competitors that I am used to competing with. So I have to gain and lose weight as I bounce between organizations, and that can be problematic depending on how competitions are scheduled. So I have to be very strategic in which competitions I choose to compete in, because I don't want to be gaining and losing weight year-round. I'd like to try to get all the Armlifting USA stuff done and then get into Gripsport International, but It doesn't always work out that way. So, for example, I competed at the Arnold Classic on the pro stage in the 125 kilogram class. And then the next week, I had a Gripsport International event in Wyoming. And there was no way I was going to lose 10 pounds in a week, so I just had to compete in the 120 plus class for Gripsport International. Wasn't a huge deal because it was kind of a smaller competition, but if it was like a major one like King Kong of Grip or North American Championships, which is coming up in 2 weeks, that would have been an issue. So I weighed 274 at the Arnold. Now I'm down to 261. I have the North American Championships with Gripsport International coming up in 2 weeks, so I'll be under the 120 limit. After that, I'll gain weight again and get ready for the Mr. Olympia. But that's going to conflict with the King Kong of Grip, so I might have to compete in the 120 plus for King Kong of Grip, or I might not gain the weight and come in lighter for the Mr. Olympia for Armlifting USA. We'll see how I feel. I don't know quite what I'm going to do yet, but these are the decisions that you have to make as you get more serious about competing. You have to decide what weight class you're going to be in and try to prepare and plan as best you can to not be cutting and gaining weight all the time. Okay, so another difference is the scoring method. So Gripsport International, most of the time it's reverse strongman. So if you get first place in an event at Gripsport International, you get 1 point. If you get last place and there's 10 people, you get 10 points. After all the events, the scores are added up and the lowest score wins. Now, in Gripsport International, let's say in the Saxon bar, 3-inch Saxon bar event, let's say I lifted 240 pounds, second place lifted 230 pounds. I still get 1 point for winning. They still get 2 points for getting second place. Doesn't matter how much I beat them by. Armlifting USA actually scores their events in a way that there's an incentive to try to crush your competition and outlift them. So let's say, for example, at Armlifting USA event on the 3-inch Saxon bar, I lift 300 pounds. Just a hypothetical number. It's an easy number. So I have the top lift at 300 pounds. That becomes 100%, 100 points. If you lifted 270 pounds, that would be 90% of my 300. So you would get 90 points. I think my math was right. You get the idea. The top lift is 100 points, and then everyone under that is a percentage of the top lift. That's how many points you get. So that at the end of an Armlifting USA competition, all that's added up, and the highest score wins. So that's the difference in the scoring methods. Also, in both events, typically it's last man standing. So what happens is 5 to 10 pounds will get added to the bar or the loading pin every round of an event. You don't have to take every lift. You can wait as long as you want. So let's say they start the event off at 100 pounds and you know that you can lift 200. You don't have to lift the 100 pounds. You can start lifting at 180 if you want. But you can skip as many lifts as you want, but as soon as you take an attempt and you miss, you're out. So you have to be strategic in when you start, because you don't want to start too early and waste energy, but you also don't want to wait too long that you might miss and not score as many points or not be as competitive. So waiting to just try to lift your 1 rep max at competition isn't the best idea because 1 rep maxes in the gym are typically when you're fresh. You're not fresh at a competition unless it's the first event. So you have to be really strategic about when you choose to lift, and you have to be sure that you're not going to miss when you jump in. Cool. So the two organizations also keep records about all of the lifts. Gripsport International has a very good database of all the lifts and all the records for a very long time. Armlifting USA also has records. I feel like Gripsport International's is better maintained than Armlifting USA's, but Armlifting USA is getting better about that. The last couple of events I've done, it seems like they put a little more care into the website. They've cleaned it up a little bit. But Gripsport International still has the better records database. And I'll post links to both of them so you can browse through and you can kind of see where you stack up against the competition from around the world. So what are the biggest events for each organization? So for Armlifting USA, the biggest events are the Global Super Series, which is there's venues all over the world, and everyone does the same 3 lifts on video, and then those results are given to Ricardo Magni, who runs Armlifting USA. They compile it all worldwide, and then we have like a worldwide view of who the strongest people are. And then the top 10 people from each weight class from around the world, they get invited to come to or they don't get invited, they get dibs on a spot to come compete at the Mr. Olympia, which is going to be in Las Vegas this year. And then depending on how you do at the Mr. Olympia, you might get an invite to go lift at the Arnold Classic, which is in March in Columbus, Ohio. And that one is invite only. There is an open competition that anyone can show up to, but to get on the pro stage, you have to be invited, and you have to be invited based on your performance at the Mr. Olympia. Gripsport International's biggest events are the U.S. and Canadian Nationals, and then I think it's every couple of years they do the North American Championship, which is coming up in 2 weeks. That's going to be a big one. It's a 2-day event. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very happy about being able to go compete there. There's going to be a lot of great people. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's kind of what prompted me to make this video, was maybe get other people excited about Gripsport and try to grow the sport a little bit more. Also, another big event for Gripsport International is the International King Kong of Grip. It's a very similar format to the Super Series, where there are venues all over the world that are sanctioned by Gripsport International. All the lifts will be performed on video, and then the results will be given to Gripsport International. They'll compile it all, and then we'll have a worldwide view of who the strongest people in the world are at that set of events. So, really fun event. I enjoyed it a lot. I encourage everyone to look into it and try to compete. Find a venue. You get to meet a lot of great people and have some fun. It's good stuff. What are the competitions like? So, in my experience, they're both pretty chill, laid back. I've competed in jiu-jitsu and other things, and those are much more toxic and intense than arm lifting and grip sport. But that said, at the Arnold Classic, when we were on the pro stage, that was pretty intense, having so many people watch us lift. And it was a really cool vibe. But I've never had a problem with anybody at an event. I've never had any animosity. I've never had anything get heated, other than the competition. But I've never had like fights or anything like that happen. Everyone's really mature, respectful. It's really cool. I don't think anyone should have any anxiety about coming to a competition from that aspect of how people are going to treat them. In my experience, being still relatively new to this sport, everyone's very welcoming and kind and generous and helpful, and it's the best sport I've ever competed in. Can you compete in both? Absolutely. I do. You don't have to pick one or the other. I think there might be some people who have there might be some beef between people, but that's very limited, and it doesn't come out at the competitions. So If you like drama, you can find it, but I have not had any issues like that in my career with both organizations. Do I have a preference? I like the vibe of Gripsport International events because they're typically smaller, and I'm fortunate enough that where I live in Colorado, a lot of really strong people, veterans of the sport, are around here. So I get to experience competing with them and getting to know them. So I like the more laid-back feel, but at the same time, nothing's going to compare to being on that stage at the Arnold Classic. So it's hard for me to say if I have a preference. I think it's a good balance between the more chill and laid-back GSI vibe with the more higher production value of the Armlifting USA event. Which is why I think Armlifting USA prefers having everything go to Lockout as opposed to a Crossbar. Because if we're on stage at the Arnold Classic and we're lifted to a 6-inch crossbar in front of all those people, it looks kind of hokey and weird. If you're lifted to Lockout, it looks better from a casual observer. To someone who doesn't know what's going on with Gripsport International, watching us lift to a crossbar and then set the weight back down, they might not think that was so intense, but they just don't really know what they're seeing. But I understand that perception. So I think that's why Armlifting USA really focuses on the Lockout and the presentation. They want it to be more exciting to casual observers. All right. And then I guess like another high-level thing about it is Armlifting USA requires a membership. It's $20 a year. Gripsport International doesn't require a membership, but there are fees to compete in the different competitions, and those vary by promoter. So when you're looking for a competition to join, it'll be laid out pretty clearly, like what the fees are, who to pay, how to pay, all that good stuff. And what that money gets you, it gets you your lifts entered into the record books, and it also just helps the promoters offset the cost of running a competition. A lot goes into it. It's a lot more work than you think. So I think that's everything really at a high level about the differences between the two organizations. I'll provide links to the different websites and everything so you can go check it out for yourself and get more details and find out who to reach out to if you have questions. But now I think we can get into the implements. So here they are. I'm going to move the camera so I can show things off better. Yeah, let's get after it. All right, first things first. The one thing you're going to need absolutely to get started are loading pins. There's different kinds, different sizes, but you really can't go wrong getting the Iron Mind 15-inch loading pin. That's this one. This is the one you'll find used at most competitions. I think this is a 12 or 13-inch. I have this really short one that helps me with my training, but you won't find this used at any competition. So these have a carabiner attached. There are some loading pins that have holes in the side here, and we'll run a pin through here to lock the implement in place. I'll show this to you whenever we get to an implement that requires this one. Yeah, so there's different kinds, different sizes, but most of them are going to be the 15-inch Iron Mind. If you were going to get one today to start, this is the one I would recommend. It's a little expensive, but it's well built. And like I said, this is the one you're going to run into, so you'll be well prepared for any competition that you might go to. And if you get more advanced in your training, you can pick up a short one, which will help you with time under tension, or you can kind of get one in between, and it can help you prepare. But get a 15-inch if you can. Okay, now what we'll do is I'm going to put these to the side, and I'm going to show you the crossbar setup that's used by Gripsport International. So here they are. They're adjustable on either side, so you can raise or lower them based on whatever the lift is. And then there'll be a knock bar sticking out here. This is going to be what hits the crossbar to indicate that you've lifted it to the acceptable height. Okay. So yeah, most of the events are going to be the 6 inches. I'll just throw something on here. Just rolling thunder. Lift. Down. Good lift. So that's it. That's the crossbar system. The finished ball, which I'll show you here in a little bit, that's a 13-inch lift. And then there's some fixed vertical bar lifts that are like 2 inches, just to try to see who can lift the craziest weight 2 inches off the floor. But most, like I said, most lifts are going to be 6 inches. So that's really it for the crossbar system. It's very simple. These are pretty cheap. I'll post links where you can buy all this gear. I get most of my stuff from Assassin. I'll even provide a discount code to help you get started. So get you a set of these. They're pretty cheap, and it'll help you prepare for competition. All right, so before we get into detail about all of the implements that go on the loading pins like I showed you, I want to show you the different bars that you might encounter at different competitions. So here we have a 2-inch axle bar. It's your standard axle. This one's from Titan Fitness, but Armlifting USA likes using the Rogue axle. Gripsport International likes the Poland's axle from Iron Mine. The Titan one is cheap. I don't want to pay $400 for the Iron Mine one, even though it's a superior product. But any axle will do. I would get one that doesn't have knurling. The smoother it is, the harder it is to hold on to, and the more it's going to train your grip. This one is a 2 3/8 inch axle. It's the same diameter as the inch dumbbell. Armlifting USA does not use this one at all, but Gripsport International, some promoters are starting to use this one. It's also called Andrew's axle, named after Andrew Derniat, who was a great competitor, super strong guy, legend of the sport. It's same thing. You deadlift it, but it's thicker, so it's harder to hold on to. And then here we have the 2x5 inch Saxon bar. This is the narrower one of the two that you'll run into. The other one is a 3-inch. Both Armlifting USA and Gripsport International use these extensively. These will be found in almost every event. One of them, not both of them. Here's the 3-inch, 3x4 inch. This is wider. And like I said, this one will also be used at Armlifting USA and Gripsport International events. You'll see it all the time. So if you were going to buy any of these bars, I would go with the 2-inch and the 2-inch axle. The narrower pinch will translate more to the wide, but if you can afford both, get a 2-inch and a 3-inch Saxon bar. Okay, so just to give you a view of what the Lockout looks like for Armlifting USA and Gripsport International on axle and Saxon bar lifts, I'll just do it real quick. You know, I think I explained it pretty well. You approach the bar. You can take whatever stance you want, sumo, conventional, whatever, doesn't matter. Bend down, pick up the bar, and you have to be knees locked, hips locked, back straight, head up, shoulders back. Wait for the down call. This isn't good. That's not good. That's not good. You have to be like this to show that you fully have control of the weight. Then when the down signal is given, you got to set it down under control. You can't slam it down. You can't get here and then drop it. You've got to set it all the way down. Good lift. That's for both axle and the Saxon bar. All right, so thick bar and rolling handles. There are two that you will not find at Armlifting USA, but are used in Gripsport International. Those are the Fat Bastard Barbell Company Crusher. This is a solid steel rolling handle. It's very heavy. This is a great handle. This is awesome. It feels awesome in your hands. And then this is the one-handed Napalm Nightmare handle, and this has a screw here that you can take out, and this handle is interchangeable with different diameters of handles. So this is a 2 3/8 like the inch dumbbell. This is a 2-inch. These are interchangeable. There's also a two-handled version of this that I'll show you in a moment. But the Crusher and the Napalm are only going to be found in the Gripsport International events, not Armlifting USA. The only ones that will be found at Armlifting USA, but not Gripsport International, are going to be Fat Grips deadlifts. So Fat Grips slip on a barbell, like I have one here. So like that. That turns your barbell into a 2.5-inch axle, basically. Not the same feel because axles don't have spinning collars. So when you lift an axle bar, the whole bar tries to spin out of your hands, whereas a barbell with spinning collars, the collars spin so the bar doesn't rotate. So a Fat Grip deadlift isn't 100%, it doesn't carry over to an actual axle deadlift, but these are super cheap and they're a great training tool if you don't have the money or the space to have an axle barbell. So keep that in mind. Armlifting USA does use these in the Super Series competition. So if you're going to compete at Armlifting USA, you should probably get a set of Fat Grips. They also make different sizes. They have these pink ones. This will turn a bar into a 2-inch, so this would be more similar to a 2-inch axle, but the Armlifting USA event uses the blue Fat Grips. Actually, Armlifting USA will not use the wrist wrench. This is only going to be a Gripsport International event. And so what this does, we'll put it on the loading pin here. You'll roll it up, and then as you go to lift it, it tries to spin out of your hand. So it forces you to use your wrist to keep it from spinning. Armlifting USA will not have an event with this, but Gripsport International does. These are typically like arm wrestling tools, but they're found in Gripsport, and they're actually very handy in helping you develop a strong wrist, especially if you're trying to lift the inch dumbbell. So I'd recommend you get one of these. Okay, so now rolling handles that you'll find at both Gripsport International and Armlifting USA events. One will be the Iron Mine Rolling Thunder. It's expensive, but if you have it, if you have the money, get one. If not, just get one of the cheap clones from Grip Genie or the one off of Amazon. But this is 2 3/8 inch, just like the inch dumbbell. This is used in a lot of competitions, so have something similar to this if you can't get the Rolling Thunder itself. This is the Country Crush Raptor. Country Crush is unique in that they use plastic handles. The Rolling Thunder is plastic, but these are even slicker on the Country Crush. And they're interchangeable. So this is a 2-inch, or actually this is a 1.75 inch handle. This is the 3-inch, and this can go on here. And there's a 2-inch handle as well, and they have also 3-inch blocks that can go on these. And there's also a 2-handle version of this, which you can see here. So this is a 2-handed lift Country Crush. Armlifting USA uses a lot of Country Crush, so if you want to compete in their stuff, I would recommend getting a set of these. You can buy this one in the set of handles, and you can use it one-handed, so you don't actually have to have the one-handed version if you want to save some money. But if you're going to get serious about it, I would recommend getting both. Okay, I think that's it for rolling handles. Alright, pinch grip. There's lots of pinch implements, so we saw the Saxon bars. Those will be used in both Armlifting USA and Gripsport International. This is the Iron Mind block. This will be used by both organizations. Shameless plug, I'm the world record holder on this in GSI, and hopefully soon to be Iron Mind. I lifted 121 pounds on this at the King Kong of Grip last year, and I hope to do more this year. This is a great implement. It's a 3-inch by 6-inch block. Very challenging lift because you can't really use any wrist. It's just pinch and lift. So this is a great implement. You'll find it used in both organizations, but Armlifting USA doesn't use it very often, it seems. Okay, so here is the 3-inch Country Crush block that'll go on the Country Crush handle I showed you. Those are all interchangeable, so this is a 3 by 4-inch block, similar size to the Saxon bar, but it's very slick and it's difficult to hold on to. So this will be used in mostly Armlifting USA, but Gripsport International has used these before as well. Another one that'll be used in both is the Iron Mind hub. Most of you have seen this one. This will be used in both organizations, and Armlifting USA even does a freestyle event where you can grip it any way you'd like. You can use the doorknob, or if you want to do something crazy like that. There's a freestyle event in Armlifting USA in the Super Series. Gripsport International, I think, has done freestyle as well, but it's more common that this is just going to be a 6-inch lift. So Iron Mind hub, it's cheap. You can also get the Grip Genie one. They're the same size, but this is a good tool, so I recommend you get one of these. Okay, now Gripsport International has 2 others that you're not going to find at Armlifting USA. This is the Napalm Nightmare 2-handed handle. The 2-inch and the 2 3/8 inch handles I showed you on the rolling handle part, these can also attach to this for a 2-handed lift. I've been training these blocks for the North American Championship, so that's why these are on here. But they spin, so it makes it a little more challenging. These are 3 by 4-inch blocks. Gripsport International will be the only ones using these. Armlifting USA will not. And then there's a 2 by 5-inch version of these blocks that can go on the handle as well. These are also used only by Gripsport International. And then last but not least, we have the flask. This is made by Barrel Strength Systems. It simulates pinching 2 calibrated steel plates together. That's the same diameter. It's 2 1/4 inch. This requires one of the other loading pins that I showed you earlier, so let me grab that and I'll show you how this attaches. Okay, so we have our loading pin with holes in the side. We put the flask on. We line up the holes, then we take this pin, goes through one side, out the other, and then it's attached and your weights go over the loading pin. Simple. Again, Gripsport International only is going to use the flask. And that's it for pinch. Okay, so another lift that you'll see in both organizations is going to be some sort of vertical bar lift, V-bar as we call it. Armlifting USA typically likes to use the Rogue grandfather clock. This is a 2-inch diameter handle, similar to it's the same pipe as the axle, but it's for a vertical lift. So we'll attach it to the loading pin and then we'll stand up with it like this. There's different techniques. I'm not going to get into all that in this video because I don't have time, but yeah, there's lots of ways to lift with this handle, but the general idea is to just stand straight up and lock it out. Gripsport International also uses this, but Armlifting USA has really been using it a lot lately, so this would be a good one to get. There's also the Grip Genie hilt, same size, same thing. You probably save some money because Rogue stuff is expensive. Little bighorn, this is from Iron Mine. This is the classic implement. Gripsport International uses it a lot. I haven't seen it used at Armlifting USA recently, but I think they have in the past. It's the same general idea. We want to lift it straight up off the ground, but it's tapered to simulate the horn of an anvil, to simulate the classic lift of picking up an anvil by the horn. So that's what this is for. Lots of technical details involved in lifting this. I won't get into it in this video, but if you wanted more information about it, contact me and I can try to help you out. So, little bighorn, recommend getting one. And then these two will only be used by Gripsport International. This is the Fat Bastard Barbell Company jug. This is a 2.5 inch V-bar. Same thing, we're going to lift it straight up off the ground. It's just thicker, so it has a different feel to it. And then this is a fixed V-bar that's going to go into this loading pin. And then that pin will run through it. And then instead of hanging by a carabiner, the weight is fixed to the V-bar itself. So you can lift a little more weight like this. The carabiner makes it a little bit harder to lift heavier. But if you had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Grip Genie hilt or the Rogue grandfather clock. Just because it seems like that one's used quite a bit with Armlifting USA and Gripsport International recently. And there's different sizes of these, but the most common one you'll run into is going to be the 2 inch. Alright, so we've covered rolling handles, pinch implements, the barbell style lifts. Now all that's left are kind of the more oddball things that you'll see occasionally. So for Armlifting USA, they've used these monkey grips. And so what you do is you slip these around a barbell, and then you try to deadlift a barbell using 2 of these. They're not used very commonly. There was a competition for these not too long ago, but I think we might see these more in Armlifting USA. They're called monkey grips. It's pretty cool. It gives you a different look and feel. It's kind of like vertical bar, but yeah, it's a little different because it's a rope. Something that we're going to do at the North American Championship, these are called meat hooks. And so what we do with these is you'll approach a barbell, you'll stand over it like a Jefferson deadlift, and you'll hook the barbell with these and you'll hold on to them, and then you'll go to lift it using these very thin handles. Show them to you. An absolutely brutal lift. I think at the North American Championship we're going to be asked to deadlift 300 pounds with these. The most I've done is like 450, but it does not feel good. These are very evil. These were produced by David Horn, World Grip. Interesting tool. I think the world record is like 700 pounds or something, which is insane. I don't know how that's possible. Okay, Gripsport International does more Keypinch style lifts. So you'll see the finish ball used at King Kong almost every year. And we grip it like this. That, and then it attaches to the same loading pin as the flask. that, and then we'll lift it this way to a 13-inch crossbar usually. Then there's the inch pinch and the shallow inch pinch. My inch pinch is on loan to somebody right now, so I can't show it, but it's a very similar implement to these. It's just a little bit taller, and we're key pinching. So the way you grab a key is how we grip these, and we lift the carabiner on a loading pin to 6 inches. So this is the single version, and then this is the double version. We'll be contesting this at the North American Championships in 2 weeks. I'm pretty excited about this. I think I might be able to take the record on it. This is called the Pain. It was developed by John Oka, Jokabug, made by Arm Assassin String Shop. It's a key pinch, but it's got a strange shape, right? So we'll hold it like that and lift the loading pin up. And then we have the Fat Bastard Barbell Company grab ball. And we'll grab it like this, and it's kind of like a pinch, but it's kind of a weird implement. Gripsport International, none of these are going to be found in Armlifting USA. So, but this is the grab ball. This comes up sometimes. Interesting implement for sure. And then last but not least, we have the good old half penny pinch. There's versions of these where the penny is cut in half and welded onto a plate, so you can't use any wrist flexion. But this one's just on a hook, and we can flex our wrist a little bit, and we just grab the coin like this and lift the loading pin. Again, Armlifting USA doesn't do any key pinch stuff. This is only Gripsport International. Okay, that pretty much wraps up the high-level overview of all the different implements that you can run into at the various competitions. One thing I haven't mentioned yet, but I will now, is you'll notice some of my stuff is really rusty or really covered in chalk. That's called seasoning. And the more textured and seasoned a grip implement is, the easier it will be to hold on to and the more weight you can lift. So typically at competitions, if the promoter's been doing it for a while, their stuff's going to be seasoned really well. And if you're lifting on smoother, newer, slicker stuff at your home or your gym, wherever you work out, you'll lift more at competition than you will at home. But if you're using really, really, really seasoned stuff like I am, you might run into a case where you show up to a competition and the implement will not be as seasoned as yours. So I would recommend training with something smooth or new, just to put yourself at a disadvantage in the gym, and then to put yourself at an advantage at competition. That's just my mentality. I don't follow it, obviously, because I have this really crusty, nasty looking stuff. But for someone new trying to get into the sport, I would recommend keeping your stuff as slick and shiny as possible. If you need a little bit of seasoning or chalk on it just to get the technique down, that's cool, but I wouldn't recommend trying to rust your stuff up like crazy when you're new. Save that when you get more advanced. Also, I know you all saw these blobs over here. That's going to be a different video. You'll have to stay tuned for that one. All right, that was a high-level overview of grip competitions and the differences and similarities between Armlifting USA and Gripsport International. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. And just before you go, I want to make it clear, if you're new to the sport, let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help you get started. That's why I do this. But I also want to make it clear that the implements and bars and things that you saw in this video, that's not an extensive collection. That's what I have, and that's what I feel like gives someone the best chance to build a well-rounded grip. There's a lot more tools out there that you'll find as you start to do your own research. But again, what you saw in the video today is what I would recommend for someone new to the sport to try to get. You can't go wrong with what you saw in the video today. But there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. Let me know what your favorite implements are. Let me know if you think I left something out. I'm happy to answer questions. Send me up in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.